We were supposed to be getting ready for dinner at Greg and Laura's place. Just a low-key night in the suburbs, pizza, board games, maybe one of Greg's over-the-top craft cocktails. It had been on the calendar for weeks, and honestly, I'd been looking forward to it. Things had been off between Emily and me lately, and I thought getting out of the house, being around people who used to make us laugh, might help. I was in the bathroom, drying my hands after a quick shave. Nothing fancy, just trying to not look like the stressed-out husband I'd become. I remember staring at myself in the mirror a second longer than usual, wondering when I started looking so damn tired. The crow's feet, the permanent crease in my brow. The little signs you don't notice until something makes you. Then I heard her laugh. Not loud but sharp. The kind of laugh that didn't belong to the woman I knew. Too carefree, too flirty. I peeked down the hallway and saw her standing by the bedroom mirror, applying lipstick. Lipstick. For Greg and Laura's pizza night? Her phone was on speaker. I couldn't hear what the other person was saying, but I saw her face. Bright, alive in a way that felt unfamiliar. She was different. The way she looked at herself in the mirror, like she was seeing someone she used to be, someone she hadn't been in a long time. Not around me, anyway. I stepped out of the bathroom slowly, towel still in hand. She turned to me like she had something to get off her chest. "Sorry, Mark," she said, casual as flipping off a light switch. "But tonight, I'm not going out with you. I'm going on a date." Just like that, I stood frozen, blinking like I just heard something in a dream and couldn't make sense of it. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. She turned back to the mirror, dabbing at her lip gloss. "You brought this on yourself," she added, like it was an afterthought. Her tone dropped. "Always quiet, cold as ice. I'm human too. I need warmth." It was like getting hit in the chest with a 2x4. I wasn't even angry at first. I was just stunned, bewildered. I took a step closer. "Emily, what are you talking about?" She didn't flinch, didn't even look at me. "I can't keep doing this," she said, slipping into her coat, walking on eggshells, pretending like everything's fine. "It's not. I'm not." She finally turned to face me. There was no rage in her eyes, no gloating. Just this strange, exhausted conviction, like someone who'd already walked away from the fire and was just explaining the smoke. "I just want to feel alive," she said, her voice softer now. "And you've turned into stone." I didn't say anything. Couldn't. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might be having a heart attack. All the noise in my head, and not a single word would come out of my mouth. She walked past me, grabbed her purse from the hook, and paused with her hand on the doorknob. "Don't make this a drama," she said without turning around. "This didn't happen overnight. You just didn't notice." Then she opened the door and left. I didn't chase her. I didn't shout. I didn't beg. I just stood there watching the door swing shut, towel still in my hand, like I was some background extra in a scene I was supposed to be starring in. And that was it. She was gone. The strange thing was, my first instinct wasn't to cry. It wasn't even to scream. It was to try and understand what had just happened. Like if I played it back in my mind enough times, I'd find the frame where everything shifted. Where she stopped being my wife and started being whatever this was now. I sat down on the edge of the couch and just stared at the floor. 10 minutes ago, we were running late for dinner. Now my wife was out on a date with someone else, and I had apparently brought it on myself. The words kept echoing. "You brought this on yourself. You've turned into stone." Had I? I thought about the past few months. How we'd stopped holding hands without realizing it. How she always sat on the opposite side of the couch now, legs curled up like a barrier. How her texts had gone from, "Can't wait to see you," to just "K." But still, this? I didn't know what I was more shocked by, what she did or the way she said it, like she expected me to nod along and understand. Like she was entitled to this escape because I hadn't made her feel enough lately. Was I cold? I tried to remember the last time I told her she was beautiful. The last time I made her laugh. The last time I looked at her without thinking about work, bills, or how tired I was. But even if I had failed her in 100 small ways, this wasn't how you solved that. You don't just announce a date with someone else like you're canceling dinner plans. You don't torch the house and blame the smoke on the thermostat. I stayed in that living room for what felt like hours, replaying the moment in my head like a looped movie trailer. Her lip gloss, her voice, that damn line, "Don't make this a drama." Wasn't this already a drama? She just walked out on her husband for a date, and I was supposed to treat it like a mature decision, like she was heading to yoga? Eventually, I stood up and wandered into the kitchen. I poured a glass of water, but my hands were shaking too much to drink. The silence in the house was deafening. It was like the air itself had turned against me. Thicker, heavier, almost accusing. I looked at the fridge. The photo from Lake Harris was still there, crooked on the magnet. Us laughing, mid-paddle, both sunburned and happy. She used to love that photo, said it was her favorite. I stared at it for a long time before pulling it down. I didn't call Greg and Laura. Didn't want to explain why we weren't coming. What would I say? "Hey guys, sorry. Emily went on a date instead." No, I just let the evening fade into nothing. Eventually, I turned off the lights, sat on the edge of the bed, and waited. Not because I thought she'd come back. Something in her voice told me she wouldn't. But because I didn't know what else to do. Sleep felt impossible. So did anything else. I just sat there, haunted by the words she left me with. Not just what she said, but how she said it. Calm, final. Like the verdict had already been written and I was only now receiving the sentence. The worst part? She didn't even cry. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house breathe without her in it. Every little sound felt louder than it should have been. The hum of the fridge, the ticking of the hallway clock. Even my own breathing felt intrusive, like I wasn't supposed to be there anymore. Sometime around 3 in the morning, my mind started doing what it does best when you're exhausted and helpless. Rewinding. Not the good memories, not the highlight reel, the moments that had felt off. The ones I'd dismissed because trusting your wife is easier than confronting the alternative. The first thing that came back to me was her sudden obsession with jogging. Emily hated mornings. Always had. For years, she'd grown if I so much as suggested a walk before coffee. Then, out of nowhere, she bought running shoes. Bright ones. Expensive ones. She started setting alarms for 6 a.m., slipping out of bed while it was still dark. "It clears my head," she'd said when I asked. I believed her. Then there was her phone. At some point, she added a password. Not a pattern. A full code. I noticed because one night she asked me to read a text while she was cooking, and when I picked it up, the screen stayed locked. "Oh, I forgot to tell you," she said quickly. "Work policy. Security stuff. Work policy, right?" After that, her phone never left her side. Bathroom, shower, even the laundry room, face down on the table like it was hiding from me. Then came the girls' nights. They used to be harmless. Cheap wine, bad TV, home by 11. Lately, they turned into all-night affairs. She'd come home past midnight, sometimes later, shoes in hand, cheeks flushed. Once, when she leaned in to kiss me, I caught a scent that wasn't hers. Something sharp, musky, definitely not my cologne. I didn't say anything. I told myself I was imagining it. I told myself marriage meant trust, not interrogation. But the phrases started changing too. "You've changed. You're suffocating me with your care. We need space." She said those things casually, like they were self-help quotes she'd picked up somewhere. Like they explained everything. She stopped reaching for me in bed, turned toward the wall instead. Her body felt miles away even when it was inches from mine. One night, I reached out and put my hand on her shoulder. She shifted away without waking up. That hurt more than any argument. Then there was the photo, the one from Lake Harris. Us in a canoe, laughing so hard the picture was blurry. For years it sat on her nightstand. I noticed it was gone one morning and asked where it went. "It was gathering dust," she said, not even looking up. Gathering dust. Now, sitting alone in the quiet house, every one of those moments lined up neatly, like evidence I'd refused to read. She hadn't left suddenly. She'd been leaving slowly, piece by piece. Not with her body at first, but with her attention, her warmth, her presence. I realized something then that made my stomach turn. When she walked out that door and told me she was going on a date, she wasn't crossing a line. She'd crossed it months ago. That night was just the first time she said it out loud. And the worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was knowing that, deep down, I'd felt it coming. I just didn't want to believe my own life could fall apart this quietly. 2 days passed without her saying a word about that night. No apology. No explanation. Just normalcy, forced and brittle. She moved around the house like a guest who'd overstayed her welcome but wasn't ready to leave. Short answers. Polite distance. Like we were co-workers sharing a break room instead of spouses sharing a life. On the second evening, I came home early. Earlier than usual. The house was quiet except for the sound of the shower running upstairs. Steam crept down the hallway, carrying the faint scent of her shampoo. The same one she'd used for years. That detail almost hurt more than anything else. I dropped my keys on the counter and noticed her phone sitting there. Face up. That alone felt strange. She never left it unattended anymore. I told myself not to touch it. Told myself that crossing that line would change something permanently. Then the screen lit up. Just once. A soft vibration against the granite. I didn't pick it up right away. I stared at it like it might explode. Like acknowledging it would make it real. But the name was already there. Glowing bright against the dim kitchen light. A message preview. Can't stop thinking about last night. Your shirt still smells like me. Signed with a single letter. S. My chest tightened so hard I had to grab the edge of the counter to stay upright. My ears rang. Everything narrowed to that sentence. Last night. Your shirt. Smells like me. There was no innocent explanation. No context that made this okay. No angle where I was misunderstanding something. When she came downstairs, wrapped in a towel, hair dripping onto her shoulders, she froze when she saw me standing there. "What's wrong?" she asked. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse her. I just held up the phone. "Who's S?" Her face drained of color so fast it scared me. She opened her mouth, closed it, then laughed nervously like she'd been caught speeding. "You went through my phone?" she snapped. "I didn't have to," I said quietly. It lit up. She crossed her arms, towel clutched tight, suddenly defensive. "This is exactly why I can't be with you. You're always watching, always suspicious. It's like living in a prison." "So it's a lie?" I asked. She didn't answer. The silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. She looked anywhere but at me. At the wall, the floor, the window, everywhere except my face. That silence was louder than a confession. I nodded slowly, feeling something inside me finally crack all the way through. "Okay," I said. That was all. And in that moment, I knew there was no version of this story where I was wrong. The next morning I left. No fight. No grand confrontation. No dramatic packing montage. I took my laptop, a few changes of clothes, and my toothbrush. That was it. I didn't leave a note. Didn't slam the door. I didn't even look back. I think I expected to feel something. Rage, devastation, maybe even guilt. But what I felt was emptiness. Not numbness, not yet. Just a hollow sort of clarity. Like when you finally clean out a closet you've been avoiding for years. The air smelled different. Lighter. Sad but clean. I checked into a hotel near the lake. Not Lake Harris, somewhere quieter. It was off-season, so the place was mostly empty. The front desk clerk gave me a room facing the water, probably assuming I was on some reflective personal retreat. I guess I was. I spent the first day doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. I lay in the unfamiliar bed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning in lazy circles. I ordered takeout and didn't eat most of it. I scrolled through my phone until my eyes hurt, then turned it off completely. I wanted silence. I needed silence. My thoughts were loud enough. That night I dreamed about her. Not the betrayal. Not the phone. Just her. Laughing on the couch with her feet in my lap. Singing off-key while folding laundry. running toward me in the rain with her arms open. The version of her I loved. The one I thought I'd grow old with. When I woke up, my face was wet. I didn't cry much during our relationship. Not because I thought it was weak, but because Emily always cried enough for both of us. I was the one who held her, who comforted, who absorbed. Now it was just me, and there was no one left to hold anything. By the third day, I started to consider my next move. Not with her. There was nothing left to salvage there, but with life. My life. I called Greg and lied, said I was dealing with a family emergency. I canceled all my meetings for the week. No one asked questions. The freedom was eerie. No one knew where I was. Not even Emily. Especially not Emily. For all she knew, I was at work or staying at a friend's. Or maybe she didn't wonder at all. Maybe she didn't care. But I did. And I hated that I still did. On the fourth night, I came back from a walk around the lake and saw something stuffed in the hotel mailbox under my last name. No return address. Inside was a white envelope. Thin. I opened it right there in the lobby expecting, what? A note? A key? A photo? It was a child's drawing. Crayon on printer paper. A bright red fire truck with a stick figure waving out the window. A sun in the corner with lines too long. And a tree that looked like a green cloud on a stick. In the bottom corner, in careful block letters, Tommy, 2 years old. I stared at it, confused. There was no message. No explanation. We didn't have kids. We were never even close. Talked about it once or twice, but always in that vague maybe someday tone. Life always got in the way. Or maybe she was never really on board. So who was Tommy? At first I thought it was some kind of mistake. A weird misdelivery. But the envelope had my name on it. My full name. Not resident. Not room 204. My name. And in my gut I knew. She sent it. Emily sent it. I stared at the drawing for a long time. The little figure waving. The bold red crayon. The absurd joy of it. Like a postcard from a world I wasn't invited to. That night I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about the timeline. About how long she'd been disappearing. About the nights she came home late. About the fights that didn't start because we didn't care enough to argue anymore. And the one thought that kept coming back over and over was this. She hadn't just cheated. She hadn't just left. She'd built a new life. And she started doing it before she ever walked out that door. It hit me all at once, like falling through ice. I wasn't just mourning a relationship. I was mourning the version of me that existed before all this. The man who thought his marriage was fixable. Who believed love, once spoken aloud, couldn't be revoked. Who thought loyalty meant permanence. That version of me was gone. He'd been replaced by someone else. Someone older, quieter. Someone who understood now that you can give someone everything and they'll still choose to walk away. You can be the man who stays and still end up left behind. 3 weeks passed. I didn't go back to the house. Didn't answer her texts. There weren't many. I hope you're okay. Here. Can we talk? There. I ignored them all. Whatever she had to say, she'd already said with her actions. I spent my days working remotely from the hotel, fielding client calls with a steady voice while my own life sat in the background, quietly smoldering. Nights were harder. That's when the questions came. The what-ifs. The rewind button my brain couldn't stop hitting. I wondered who S really was. Some coworker? A stranger? Someone I knew? I tried not to care. But one morning, just as I was beginning to feel like the fog might finally lift, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is important. Tommy isn't his. Call if you want to know more. I stared at it for a full minute, then locked the screen and tossed the phone onto the bed. Not my problem. Not anymore. Or so I told myself. But I couldn't let it go. The drawing. The name. That strange envelope with no return address. It had been haunting me the way some songs do, looping in the back of my head, demanding attention even when I tried to tune it out. Tommy isn't his. Whose kid was he? And why would someone send that to me? That night I didn't sleep. I just kept picturing that drawing. The fire truck. The stick figure. The name scrawled in the corner. Tommy, 2 years old. And something about the math, about the timing, started to dig into me like a splinter under skin. 2 years, which would put his conception around, what? A few months before things really fell apart between Emily and me? Back when we were still technically trying. No way. I tried to shake the thought. But the next morning, I called the number. She answered on the second ring. Emily. Of course. She didn't sound surprised. Like she'd been waiting. Hi, she said softly. I didn't waste time. Is he mine? She was quiet for a beat too long. Then, I don't know. You don't know? I was already pregnant when I left, she said. I didn't say anything. My voice dropped. You told him it was his? Yes, she said, barely a whisper. He thinks Tommy's his son. And you just went along with it. Silence again. Why? I asked. Because I knew you'd try to fix things, she said. And it was the most honest thing she'd told me in months. You wouldn't have let me go. The words knocked the breath out of me. She was right. If I'd known she was carrying my child, I would have fought. Hard. I would have forgiven more than I should have. I would have compromised. Stayed. Tried. She knew that. So she buried it. I ran a hand through my hair and paced the hotel room. Do you want to know for sure? She asked. I didn't answer right away. I wasn't sure I could know for sure. Not emotionally. Not without ripping open everything I'd spent weeks trying to seal shut. I just thought you should know, she added. Why now? I asked. Another long pause. Because he's starting to look like you, she said. That stopped me cold. He has your eyes, she whispered. I sat down hard on the edge of the bed. Everything blurred. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. But something inside me broke again. Not in the way it had before. This wasn't anger or betrayal. This was grief for a moment that had been stolen from me. Silently, deliberately. A chance to become a father, taken before I even knew it existed. I pictured him again. Tommy, 2 years old. A kid with my eyes being raised by another man who thought he was the father. Because Emily hadn't wanted to be chosen. She'd wanted freedom. And she got it. By rewriting reality. She didn't pick a new life. She built one on silence. On withheld truth. On the assumption that I'd never find out. And maybe I wouldn't have if not for that envelope. That one crayon drawing with no return address. That fire truck. That little waving stick figure. Me maybe, or maybe not. But I had to know. We met at a park on a gray Saturday morning. She brought him Tommy. He ran ahead, chasing leaves, shouting, "Look, Mommy, a bird." I stayed back, unsure if I was allowed to feel anything. But then he turned, looked at me, and my breath caught. His eyes, my eyes, same shape, same color, same intensity. Emily stood beside me. He loves fire trucks, she said, and anything red. Does he know about me? I asked. She shook her head. No, he just thinks I'm Mommy and he's Daddy. I nodded slowly, still watching the boy. I didn't know how to speak to him, but he smiled and held up a toy car like he wanted me to play. And just like that, something shifted. I wasn't just a spectator anymore. I wanted to know everything about him. I didn't blow up her life. Didn't fight for custody. Didn't scream in court. I chose something quieter. Slower. I showed up. Parks, museums, little playdates. Tommy started calling me fire truck guy. Then one day, Dad. That word nearly leveled me. I didn't try to destroy what they had. I built something separate. Mine. With time, he trusted me. Fell asleep on my shoulder after a long afternoon. That night, I sat in my car and cried. Not out of sadness. Out of hope. I hadn't lost everything. Not completely. I had a reason now. Not revenge. Not bitterness. A child. A second chance.